Hi, and welcome to this webinar. I am so excited to be here, and I'm so excited to have all of you here with me today. I hope you're all as excited as I am because I'm going to deliver some of the valuable info that no one is talking about in the marketplace right now. My name is Wei U, and I want to thank you and congratulate you for joining me because you'll discover that my way of investing is a little bit different, well, to almost everyone else's, okay? And it works a little bit like gangbusters. Now, I can see that there's a few people still getting on, so I'm going to give them a couple more minutes for them to settle in. You should use this moment to grab yourself a pen, a notepad, or something to write on and take notes, because what you learn today is going to be so valuable, so controversial, so different, and you're not going to be investing the same ever again. I know your time is valuable, so I'm not going to wait for latecomers any longer. I'm just going to kick this thing off, right now. Actually, this presentation, which would normally take a little bit longer, but I'm going to move through it at a good pace so you get all the information without taking any longer than you have to, okay? Now, as you can see, this presentation is titled Get Rich Safely. That's because too many people rush out and buy investment property hoping to land a big one, okay? Just, one of those ones like land development or land subdivision or a big property development deal. One of those deals that trying to turn you into an instant millionaire, but they inevitably fail. They fail because one, sometimes you don't know how to assess the deal properly. Sometimes your lack of experience. Sometimes you don't know how the numbers works. I mean, I'm all for taking actions, but there are a few mistakes that people make along the way which turn into major problems. Property is definitely a great way to create wealth. That's why big names like Tony Robbins, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Richard Branson, just to name a few, still uses real estate as a way to grow their wealth or to multiply their wealth. However, you have to do it safely. You can't just keep making losses along the way and expect to reach that financial goals or reach your financial goals a lot sooner, okay? Now, here's a bit about what we're going to be covering in this webinar. First of all, I'm gonna tell you what's going on in the property marketplace and why it's got such a terrible reputation. And I'm gonna tell you who you should be avoiding like a plague, because these people have done so much damage, including to me, as well as some of the people that I know very dearly. And I'm going to talk about what's possible with property and why almighty dollar is not always the best place to start your goal setting and investment planning. And Now, I'm going to tell you different types of investments you can make, and there are three in total, and why and when you should be using each one of them. And by the way, you should never rely on just one of these, because I'll show you why that is in a little bit, okay? And then I'm going to go really deep into risk management because, hey, Richard Branson have said, you have to protect your downside and upside will take care of itself. Meaning if you manage your risk and play the game as if, you're not going to lose, then getting profit and growth from the marketplace is just a general and natural process, and it will just happen, okay? And finally, you go to see how it all get put together into a high profit, low risk portfolio. That's going to get you to your goals a lot sooner, okay? Now, before we go on, I want to make sure that this presentation is right for you, because there are just a few people out there who's going to screw this up. They just hardwire that way to find a way to mess things up. So this presentation is for you. This presentation for you if your goals are just beyond making money, okay? Money is important, but if you're just motivated by becoming the next Scrooge McDuck, then you probably don't have the right mindset to succeed as an investor. This presentation is all about creating a long-lasting wealth, not just a short-term profit, okay? And that's the very nature of property means. It's going to keep growing and growing and making you richer and richer as the time goes by. So if you're just after a quick profit, then well, this webinar is not going to be for you, okay? Here's a big one. This is not a get rich quick scheme, okay? If you think you're going to retire multi-millionaire in 3 years by investing in property, then you can forget about it. Or if you came here to solve all your tomorrow's money problem by investing in property, then well, I hate to break it here, you're a long way from home. Property works and works extremely well, but too many people think they're going to buy property today and wake up rich tomorrow. You know what? I'm not interested in making you rich. I'm not interested in making you rich at all. What I'm interested in making you wealthy. There's a difference. Wealth is eternal. Wealth is eternal. Wealth has power to build and move and change communities. Now, my job is to show you how to become wealthy faster than if you do it yourself. So it can be surprisingly quick, but it's just not going to be overnight. Okay. What you're going to learn here is perfect if you never invested before, which means you can build your portfolio in a more structured way so you can reach your financial goals in a more timely manner. Or if you have invested before and you have existing portfolio and you want to do it better and get better result out of your portfolio, then I can help you with that as well. I work with many established investors who restructure, tweak their portfolio so they can get to their retirement very quickly. Now, a little bit about me. I wouldn't be surprised if you've never come across me before, because I don't have a huge profile. I'm not a speaker on multi-speaker circuit, and I'm not one of those guys or girls who are in everyone's faces, all right? And I don't have a big dollar coaching program or mentoring packages or anything like that. Okay, having said that, I've been featured in your investment property magazine, and I've been interviewed by news.com.au and Bloomberg very recently. My company, InvestWise Property, is a boutique investment company. We work very closely with our investor clients to help you hit that target. There's no one size fit all approach. Okay. Now, I understand there's a lot of property mentoring and coaching programs out there. And if you've joined one of those programs expecting a personalized solution or advice, then you might have been a little bit mistaken. Okay, see, the very nature of coaching or mentoring is not to give you personal advice, at least not legally anyway. But it's merely an education and guidance program. Okay, don't get me wrong. I love education and education program. I myself have done plenty of education program in my lifetime, and myself have had a mentor when I started investing a bit more seriously, and now I have mentors for everything from business to life to relationship to personal development. But you know what, sometimes it's just not what you need when it comes to investing. Okay, as you know, we live and work in a one of those busyness lifestyle that you have to go to work 9 to 5 and you leave home at 7 and come home at 7 at night, and you don't really have that time and energy to sit down and work out what your the right next step should be. Sometimes you just need that someone to just tell you what you should be doing next. I'm a RG 146 compliant investment advisor, which means I'm fully licensed to give you personalized advice on property. Okay, and there's only a handful of people like me in the country, and I'm actually qualified like a financial planner, financial advisor, but only for property. I'm also a qualified credit advisor, or accredited member of Finance Broker Association of Australia, and an accredited advisor with Property Investment Association of Australia. Now, it's fair to say that my background isn't conventional. As you can guess, I wasn't born here. Okay, in fact, I was born in a little place called Burma. My dad decided to move to Fiji when I was about 14. And when I was growing up, I have to admit I had no career or life aspiration. And all I wanted to do was just go to the beach, hang out with my friends, surf, and party. Who can blame me? Because you live in such a paradise, right? And when I finished high school, I had a grand plan for my life. And all I wanted to do was sit on a beach and rent out surfboards and kayaks to beach bunnies and tourists. Now, being brought up by engineer dad and mathematician mom, they had that plan didn't really sit very well with them, and they had a different plan for my future, and they decided that I should get some sort of qualification, so I have something to fall back on, and I kind of thought they were right at the time. That's when I found this newspaper ad where local airline is looking for cadet engineers, and I kid you not, on the side it says all expenses paid training in Sydney with Qantas Airline. And now I thought, well, what could be better than having all expenses paid holiday? So I did join the airline. I started my training, and I had a blast 4 years of my college life. And it was in 2004 that I decided to finally move to Sydney and join the ranks with Qantas Engineering. What can I say? Life was awesome. I was earning big bucks and loving what I was doing. and there's a couple of photos of me working on the big, massive stuff, right? And then, of course, you know what happened. The GFC hit suddenly, and the economic setbacks in Qantas decided to move a lot of the jobs offshore. And with that, the whole aviation industry come crumbling down, and I was out of a job. And almost most of the airline staff, especially the maintenance staff, lost our jobs, right? And not that it made things anything easier, because I already had my investment property by then, which I bought with my some of the saved dollars, right? I didn't have much, but because I was partying so hard, but I still managed to scramble whatever I saved up and bought this little investment property, or little nest egg. But you know what? I can't afford to keep this little nest egg going if I don't have a job, right? At a time, because of the industry I was in, it was a little bit harder to find a job. It wasn't as quick as I thought it was going to be. So, being an engineer, I went to work on an engineer solution, and I came across a concept called vendor financing. And it's not the topic of this webinar, but it allowed me to get out and make a small profit, while a few neighbors who were selling at the same time, racked up some serious losses. All right. Now, found myself a new job, and it was time for me to get into the next disaster. I haven't given up on property investing. In fact, I was more wound up, because the first time around I had to get rid of my nest egg. So I was in a rush, and I was in a more wound up attitude to try and get another one and try and make up for lost time and lost money. Okay, so I thought to myself, if I can just get someone to guide me and find me a property that's gonna make up for all these lost time and money. So I got sucked in by one of those fast talking spruikers, right? This guy, got me to fork out 10 grand, and then he was going to coach me and mentor me, and then turn around and sold me a property in Gladstone, one of those property, up in the northern Queensland area, mining town, and which admittedly though, it was racing along fine at a time. However, there were houses going up all over the place, and the mining boom was about to come to a grinding halt. And within a year of my $275,000 investment, and my little investment was barely $170,000. That's what happens when you fall for one of those guys, sharks, right? The problem is these guys, he has got a big teeth, and ASIC don't really have any teeth at all to stop them. Pretty much anyone can get around the laws and sell investment properties with no experience and no qualifications, and put people into junk properties just so that they can cash in on. Right? Anyway, I could have put my tails between my legs and given up on property, but deep down, I knew it has to work. If Richard Branson, Warren Buffett, and a few other ordinary Aussies are making it work, then I knew it has to work. Right? It's just a matter of finding the right strategies and applying it to suit your personal circumstances, right? So I studied obsessively, right? I read every book, every magazine, every report on investing, and then I started investing again, and this time with a little bit more success. I started applying some of the things that I've read about, learned about from books and journals and report, and I also got myself a mentor who's going to push me and guide me through the process. What I've also done is I got myself a secondary skill. That's right, got myself qualified as a financial planner. And I thought, you know what, one day I'm going to join the ranks in financial services firm. But what I quickly realized is that being qualified as a financial planner doesn't mean you can recommend the best solution for your client. You didn't know that, did you? You see, as the planner, you have to be licensed under Australian Financial Services license. And they still limit you for some managed funds that they can get, or they get commission on, right? You can't just start recommending anything that they can't get commission on, or the best solution for the client. Interestingly though, here's what I've also learned. Little documents called statement of advice that I now give to my clients that detail all the investment options, research, and risk associated, and no one out there in the property marketplace is giving right now or doing it right now. That's called personal advice, and that's catered to your personal and financial circumstances, and also factored in your risk rating and the risk rating of the investment that you have chosen. Okay. Now, of course, this webinar is not a personal advice, and I want to make sure that you understand that at this point. Okay, it is just a general information only, and may not even suitable for every individual. It does not take into account your personal objectives, financial situations, and needs. But I'm an accredited advisor. You can contact me for personal advice, which I'm legally qualified to give. There's a button at the bottom of this page, and you can click that button, enter your details, and I'll get in touch with you very shortly. And this is an obligation-free session, so go ahead and click on it and enter your details and schedule your appointment in. So where do we start? And when you start talking about investment and investment planning, okay? So first place to work on is your goals, right? This is a huge piece of equation. You see, if you ask most people, they'll tell you, I just want to retire. I just want to become rich. There's a problem with that. It's not all about money, okay? Actually, it's not about money at all. What this is about is what the money can do for you. Okay, so don't worry about money right now, and let's talk about what you want out of life. Perhaps you've got a growing family and you don't want to miss seeing your kids growing up, or spend time at their soccer games or cricket game, or you want to send them to the best school without having to worry about where the money is going to come from. Or your goals might be to replace enough income so you can drop a day or two a week, from work and go golfing or fishing with your buddies. Maybe you want to retire early and travel around the world, Australia, or travel around the world or travel around Australia. I know this is, the travel is on most of your goals, because it's definitely is on mine. And we take at least 2 holidays a year without fail, and it's a fantastic feeling, fantastic thing. How much do you really need to make this happen? Remember, when you do this the right way, your properties will fund your plans and they will continue to grow. Imagine all this is achievable and all are closer once you start with the plan. All right. Now, I just want to share my goals and how I started, how we started in an investment or investment planning. Now, when I started out, it was 5 to 8 years ago, and I had just met my wife at the time, and then it was my girlfriend at the time, and we just hit it up right from the beginning, right? And somehow I knew that I would marry her one day and have a family. Now, then comes the challenge. I knew I want to be a different husband, different father, and I want to be as involved as I can be, right? I wanted to be there every moment. I wanted to be there when they first crawl, when they say their first words, and when they smile first, and everything. I wanted to be there, and that's where I started my goals. Not how much I wanted in money terms, right? Of course, I needed to work out how much is it going to cost me, or how much I'm going to need to fund this lifestyle that I want. But it's the lifestyle goal that I started from, not how much I want from this investment. Now, don't underestimate what you can achieve, okay? If it's done right, you can achieve some amazing things, because that's the nature of property investing. Because once you set up correctly, getting wealthy is just as simply doing the right things over and over again and watching it all happen, okay? As Robert Kiyosaki said, you have to make the investment plan or investing plan boring and mechanical, so you can do other fun and exciting stuff in life. So don't start with your money figure in mind. Start with the lifestyle goals by asking yourself, what do you really want? What do I really want? And then figuring out what you really need in terms of money or money-wise to make it happen. Okay, now I want to blow the lid off something first before we continue, okay? That's how many properties you need. And some people think you need 20, 50, or even 100 to be a successful investor. And let me stop you right there, and let me tell you that that's painfully wrong. Right now, I'm working with one of my investor clients to restructure his portfolio. Anyone care to guess how many properties he has? He has 25 different properties, guys. And is he retired? Well, far from it, okay? He's still having to work hard just so that he can maintain his portfolio. And he's pushing 55 years old, right? He's pushing that retire age right now. And you don't need that many. And I'm going to cover this very shortly. However, you don't need just one property either. Remember, we spoke about this earlier. You can't just try and land a big one to become an instant millionaire. Your results are really going to become, your results are going to come quickly once you get to about 6 or more properties, okay? Now, the thing is, even though most investors have big dreams when they started out, only less than 1% of investors ever make it beyond 5 properties. Now, think about it for a moment. Of all investors, 99% will never go past 5 properties. And here's the thing. It's about getting into good habits and doing the right things over and over again. Because as you can see, 2 out of every 3 investors just get 1 property. And I can tell you that they will sell, most will sell within a few years too. So it's not hard to get above most investors, right? All it takes is the right strategy and then the habits to turn it into a reality. You want to know a big secret to investing? It's all about managing and eliminating risk. It's not about making just profits, okay? Now, you might think, well, I'm saying be ultra conservative, and that means going slowly, and that's going to take a long time. In fact, it's the opposite, okay? A lot of people rush in and buy the wrong houses or wrong property, or even the right houses, but it's not even what, it doesn't even suit their circumstances or their goals or their portfolio. For example, let me give you an example. If you just go out and bought cash flow positive property thinking cash flow is king, then what you really need for your portfolio is a big instant profit to move forward quickly, then that's going to hold you back a few years if you're unlucky. Okay, that's the difference between you retiring in 5 years or having to work 5 more years in the workforce. That's the difference between you traveling to Europe in style in 3 years or having to put off that plan for the next 3 to 4 years. Again, it's about good habits. Okay, so what we're doing constantly is looking for ways to manage and eliminate risk. And how do we do this? Well, whenever you're buying a property for your portfolio, you need to start thinking about 2, 3 to 5 investment deals ahead that you're going to do. You need to start asking, how does this property serve me in my overall plan? Is this property going to move my portfolio forward or hold me back? This way it's clean, you can move forward and more confidence, and the risk of getting thrown backwards is extremely low, okay? Again, 2/3 of investors never get past 1 property. And it's usually because they didn't manage their risk properly. So here are the main risks and what to do about them so you can become wealthy much faster. Now, here's the biggest risk of all. It's doing nothing. Okay, a lot of people think investing is risky, and sure, there's risk involved, and which is why you're here to learn how to eliminate and manage risk, right? However, the biggest risk by far is doing nothing. Because listen to this, right? Here's the thing. According to the Association of Superannuation Fund Australia, the average super fund for Australian male is just over 98,000 and just under 55,000 for women. The average balance for retiree is 292,000 for men and 135,000 for women. Add these two together, and typical couple right now at the retirement age, they have a balance of 427,000. Now, take a look at this. What this shows is out of 100 people born, 15 won't make it to 65 for whatever reason. And of all those people who do, 74 will survive on pension, which is just enough to live, nothing more. And 7 of us will have to keep working just to survive, at least as long as we can until we're forced to go into pension. And 3 will be financially secure, and 1, just 1, will be wealthy. Don't believe me, just look at the numbers, right? The average super fund returns over the last decade were around 6%. This is just $25,000 a year, right? Like that's about $500 a week. You can't live on this. I bet you don't now, so why should you take a pay cut when you retire and when you finally got time to do the things that you always dreamed of, right? Not to mention, many of us will be forced into early retirement because of health issue, or more commonly losing jobs because we've been too old to get another one, or one of those things. And knock on words, if unexpected family expenses or medical emergency, your savings could be smashed to pieces before you even retire. Warren Buffett was once asked, when is a good time to invest? And he says, well, the best time to plant an oak tree was 20 years ago. If you would be enjoying the shade now. The next best time to plant an oak tree is now. If you do, you will be enjoying the shade in 20 years' time. Although I can tell you it's not going to take 20 years, but you need to start looking after your finances if you want a safe and secure retirement in the future. Another major risk is not having your finance sorted out. Okay, this is a huge risk for investors because it's so easy for the banks to knock you back, especially in this day and age. The Australian Prudential Regulation Authority, as we know, APRA, put pressure on the banks to keep property investing within a certain range. And if it gets too high, they make banks to pull back. If it gets too low, they loosen up their policy, the lending policy a little bit, so that people can go out and buy more properties. So if your finances aren't up to scratch, and if you got caught up in the time that they're tightening their policy, then you could easily get knocked back. And if you apply with too many banks and your credit report looks bad, it's even harder. Okay, in this day and age, the bank wants to know everything from your credit score to what you bought, to what you spend on your credit card, to what you have for breakfast, what your dog has for breakfast, and what your neighbor is doing in the morning. And there are also things like cross securitization, which is when you have all properties in one basket, and hey, there's there's no one way to do this. Okay, I understand there's a lot of talks about how bad cross securitization is. Let me give you an example. I have a development site that I'm developing right now, I'm building right now, and I want to put as little of my money as possible. Okay, and I only want to put in 5% if I could. Okay, now I know the build is going to take about 12 months, and the only way the bank was going to give me 90% of the total cost for me to do the development is if I cross securitize some of the properties in the portfolio. Not all properties, just some. Okay, so would I cross securitize? Would I do it? Bloody hell, I would. Okay, you might ask why. Here's why. My immediate goals or my immediate personal situation is to use very little of my money as possible. Is it the best way? Well, it is for me. It may not be the best solution for you, though. So you get it, right? It's more than one way to skin a cat, and you have to find the best solution to suit your situation every time. Okay, that's why you need to, that's the reason why you need to work with a mortgage broker who's experienced in property investment, because they will stop this from happening. And I'm a mortgage broker, so I know this information backwards and blindfolded. So if you want to talk about finance, again, contact me directly, and I will go through your situation with you. Now, here's a picture, a biblical picture of a biblical story of David and Goliath. Okay, it's a great story for property investors because it reminds us that bigger isn't always better. Young David here manages to bring down the gigantic Goliath with a slingshot. Right? He knew exactly where and how to strike, and sending the stone straight into Goliath's temple. And property investing is a bit like this. Okay, bigger isn't necessarily better. There's plenty of spruikers out there boasting about how they've got 20, 50 to even 100 properties. And seriously, next time they tell you that they've got 100 properties in their portfolio, ask them to show you how much income they're making from their portfolio each year. Okay, if you need that many properties, you're doing something wrong. I mean, who wants a call from 100 agents every month with maintenance problems and tenants trashing the house and late payments, and the list goes on, right? And you also have to keep on top of every single one of them. Make sure that they're all paid up, keep tax records, and make sure the loans and insurances are up to date and rates are all paid up. And I mean, it's an absolute nightmare. And more importantly, it's a full-time job. Okay, doesn't sound like the kind of retirement I'll be after. Well, I'm sure you'll be the same. with the right strategy, your small portfolio will beat the hell out of large bloated ones. Okay, if your portfolio is full of rubbish, it doesn't take much for it to fall over. The best strategy is you have to make each property count. Okay, which is what I do with my clients. Every property works with every other property, so you move towards your goals sooner. Okay, I'm going to give you 3 different types of investment very shortly, so you can see how they all work together. Now, this is another risk, but I'm not going to go into this too much in details because it's really different for everyone. I get asked all the time, hey, Wei, should I be buying in trust or should I be buying in my own name? Well, here's the thing. Again, there's no right answer. Okay, you have to start with why you need to buy in a trust. Is it an asset protection you're after, or do you want to distribute income? What is it? Okay, there's different kind of trusts that to do different job. What I'll say though is buying in the wrong structure can hold you back big time. Okay, again, it's a risk which which can slow you down. So you really need advice on it, and you need someone like me who's licensed to provide it. Okay. And of course, one of the reasons for looking at properties which are positively geared is that some of the negative gearing bit don't matter. Okay, take a look at this house that we just finished for our client. As soon as it's finished, it gained $100,000 in equity, and by the time it was finished, the rental yield was a cash flow positive, so there was no negative gearing bit to even worry about. So it opens up to a lot of opportunity for this client as soon as it finished. Okay. Now, this is something that you really need to get right. Okay, one of the reasons property can be such a financial windfall is that you can set it up so it costs you nothing out of your own pocket, or at least very little. Okay, you've got the bank lending you money, and you've got property already with some equity in it, and you can even use that as a deposit to pay your stamp duty and legal costs. And I'm sure everyone is already familiar with that concept. Okay, by the way, the equity is simply how much more your property is worth than what you owe to the bank. Okay, so that's how you work it out on the slides. If you have a read on the slide, I'm not going to go into this too far. If you want to know more about how it all worked out, just contact me directly. Again, now here's how it all paid for. Right, you generally want to buy something which costs you nothing out of your own pocket, or at least very little. Here's an example of one of the property that my client did recently. It's a bit hard to read, but what it shows is, in this case, the out-of-pocket expenses for this client was zero. The tenant covered most of it, the tax office covers most of it, thanks to being able to claim so much back, especially with a new property. So while you go for something which might cost you a few dollars each month, you can also find excellent properties which cost you nothing and even put cash in your pocket from day one. Okay, and that helps you get to your next deal a lot quicker. Everyone can see this? Great, let's move on. Here's another big risk, right, which I advise my client against. Again, it's another reason to work with me, because not many people out there really either aware of this risk or not really take this risk into consideration. Okay, it's a risk of long settlement. Does everyone know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about one of those 2 to 3 years off the plan properties. Okay, this can bring you undone really, really fast if you're not careful. Okay, from the time that you sign the contract to the time that you need to settle on the property, anything can happen. Right? We live in a world of job insecurity, right? Touch wood, you might have lost your job by the time you have to settle, or you decided that you hated your job, or you hated your boss, and you started a business. That will affect the way bank assess your situation. Okay, or you could have had a newborn and your wife have gone on maternity leave. And it's a wonderful time, and you don't need you don't need to bring stress into your life by having to settle on property during this time. Believe me, I've done it. Don't do it. So I always advise the people to settle within a few months at most. Okay, sometimes 12 if you have to, if it's a really good deal. Okay, now the thing which really drives property prices is demand. There's nothing new here, right? You all know this. So if nobody wants your property, then the price isn't going to go up fast. Okay, that's why I recommend investing in blue chip properties, or at least ones where demand is huge. And I'll show you this in a few minutes. Okay, funny thing about market pressure is it exists at both end of the market. Okay, if you buy way out way out in the suburbs, mile from anywhere, or out in the country or regional or out in the ditch, there's no market pressure either. Okay, and the price is not going to go up quickly. I have a few clients who bought a property in some of the regional area that's returning about 12% rental yield, but they bought it for 250,000 about 5, 6, 7 years ago, in which they didn't even started working with me yet. Now the property's still worth 250,000, but they're still returning 12%. And that's what I'm talking about. However, it's also applied to super expensive properties in the inner suburbs, right? These are the properties, these properties get so expensive, not many people can afford to buy them or even to rent them out. So they're actually, good to avoid them too. So there's no market pressure either. What you want is an area where everyone wants to live in and can afford to live in. Okay. Now, this is the last risk, and it's the major one. It's being one trick pony. Okay, this is when you only have one strategy or only want to do one strategy, and you do it over and over again. Right? I know, some of you might have gone to property development seminar, or renovate your way to retirement seminar, and you only want to renovate, or you only want to develop. I understand that. I get it. But let me ask you something before we go on. Okay. When you were in high school, did you just learn one subject you really, really like? Or do you have to learn other subjects as well? Think about it. How about when you were in university? Did you study one subject, or did you study a few other subjects as well? Even if you major in anything from engineering to business or finance, you would have had to do some core subjects. Or in this day and age, all of you have to do some sort of information systems and management, and some basic accounting and bookkeeping and human resources, and etc., 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 right? And do you know why that is? Because in life, we don't get to choose what opportunities we get. It's our job to make the most out of opportunities given to us. Okay, let me give you another example. If you're a golfer, or if you're a golf enthusiast like me, you'll know you can't just walk onto the golf course and play golf with just one club in your bag. Okay, this is just not going to happen. Okay, you need a few different clubs. You need quite a few clubs for you to play a full round of golf. Okay, so why is it when it comes to investing, most investors just stuck on one strategy? Okay, just as in life, we don't get to choose opportunities we get. We just have to make the most of it. Okay, let me give you an example of two men I've had a chance of knowing. Let's call them Bob and Ryan. That's not their real name. For this purpose of this webinar, let's call them Bob and Ryan. Right? They're both keen investor beavers, but you see, Bob likes one trick pony, and he only wants to do a development deal. But Ryan decided to work with me, and so we set up a plan and invested in a few different opportunities. Some of them house and land, some of them apartments, some of them townhouses, some of them cash flow positive, some of them are for instant profit. But it's been 2 years since we've been working together, and Ryan's profit is staggering 250,000, right? While Bob is still waiting and looking for that perfect development site where he can make a healthy profit. That's what happened if you have blinkers on. Okay, you missed out on opportunities right in front of you. So if you only go for negative gearing property, you'll find that banks refuse to lend you any more money because your cash losses are so great. But if you only go for cash flow property, you'll run out of equity because your properties aren't going up fast enough. The smartest way to invest is, that's why people come to me to plan their investments, because we look at 2 to 3 investment ahead of time, so we can move forward a lot quicker. Okay. Now, we're going to think long and hard and we're going to think about long and hard about how to do this, because even if you can't get all those properties straight away, you'll know what needs the most attention. Okay, whether it's going to be instant cash or cash flow positive, or the one that's going to grow equally much faster. Okay. That's why I recommend, investing in a blue chip type of properties, right? Like traditionally, people think about blue chip properties as, big old houses, which are negatively geared. That's not the case. Okay, you can do negative geared properties, cash flow positive properties, even developments, or in a even developments in blue chip suburbs, which are generally 10Ks from CBD, where we're closer to jobs and entertainment and public transports and schools and other infrastructure. Okay, doesn't mean it's you're going to be doing these deals in some of the inner suburbs where they have potential oversupply problems. Okay, you're gonna have to do a little bit more due diligence around it, where and how we're gonna find these deals. Okay, now sometimes I look at something further out because it's close to new growth area and has all the amenities in the traditional blue chip areas have. I'll show you an example in a moment, somewhere exactly like this. Okay, now what do I mean by high growth and cash flow properties? Let's take a look. Yeah, cash flow properties are the properties that put money in your pocket, right? No biggie, no brainer. The thing with these properties is sometimes they generally grow a little bit slower in value. It could be because it could be a little bit far away from CBD, or it could be a little bit regional, or it could be a little bit remote. Okay. However, on the other hand, a high growth property increases value faster, but you won't get as much cash flow from them because it's a high demand area. Now, having all that equity but not being able to service because of lack of cash flow is it's like being dressed up but nowhere to go. Okay, so it's a trade-off between equity and cash flow. Now, that's why I have a general rule I use for my clients, especially those looking for the best of both worlds. Okay, again, it can vary, or it can vary depending on your situation or your goals. So it's why you need to book a time with me to go through this, to go through this process and nail it and get this process right from the beginning. Okay. However, if you're looking for something balanced, here's 3 rules that I follow for this type of investment. Okay. It must not cost you anything. Okay, it must not cost you anything out of pocket. So right now that means rental yield about 5% or more. That's simply the amount of rent per week multiplied by 52. That's becomes a yearly rental income, then divided by how much properties cost. Okay, that's the snapshot of how it's calculated. If you want to learn more in details about how it's done, let me know and I'll go through that with you. Now, the second rule is only to invest in new property or newish property. Okay, that's because you can claim what's known as depreciation. I'm sure every one of you familiar with this, right? But according to ATO, as of today, there are 152 items that you can claim depreciation on, including brick and mortars and value of the property itself. Okay. Now, one of the reasons we do this is because as the depreciation gets less and less each year, the rent gets higher and higher. So while one goes down, the other one goes up, and your investing position and the cash flow remains high. You get it, right? Now, the third rule is only invest in an area where it's just about to take off, or the area which might be close to the boom or close to the boom areas, or going to experience that ripple effect. Okay, there's nothing new here, but sometimes investors just miss this just by chasing either cash flow only or instant profit only, or they just miss the whole rule about this. Now, here's a couple of examples of some of the deals that we've done very recently. Okay, these are live deals, so I'm going to go through this very slowly, so you understand what we've done and how we've achieved results for our clients. Now, Cannon Hills, we've done this deal around February, March this year. Now, at the time, the medium suburb prices were about $455,000, and we managed to get $20,000 discount from for our clients, and pick up a deal for $435,000. At the time, it was about 5% yield. Now, this 5% yield is off $455,000 price point. So because we're picking it up for a lot cheaper, obviously his rental yield is not 5%. His actual rental yield, by the time we finish the deal, settle on it, is at least 5.3%. Okay, as you can see, there are different ways to increase a little bit of cash flow as well as picking up that little profit. This now, to me, this is a great deal. You can do like 2 or 3 of these a year, and you're making 60, 80 grand in profit without lifting a finger. And I love that sort of deals. Right, I'm lazy investor. Right now, Belbert Park in Greater Springfield, another excellent story here. And one of our clients, Michael, you're gonna hear from Michael in a few minutes. But Michael did this deal in May, and he settled this deal in May for $485,000. At a time, literally on that street, other properties were selling for $535,000. So we know he's walking into a $50,000 profit. What we don't know and what we haven't catered for is how quickly the market's going to grow. And now my acquisition team has came back and said, well, any new investor is going to invest in the area is going to start at $550,000. Now, Michael hasn't started building on this piece of land yet, and he's already sitting on $80,000 profit. I mean, he's not even finished yet. That's to me, that's the sort of area, or that's the sort of properties, or that's the sort of deals that you want to be targeting, so that you can move forward a lot quicker and have that momentum built up behind you. Okay. Now, this deal that Michael has done, he's gonna smash it, and he's gonna get 6.5% rental return. So by the time he's finished, he's gonna be holding it in his portfolio for next couple of years, 2-3 years, because it's gonna be positive cash flow. Okay. Another great way to invest is to do a small developments like units and townhouses and duplexes and villas, right? Everyone know this. This is by taking advantage of housing shortages, and particularly for some of the areas that downsizes, right, and small families. Now, doing this development, typically see the value. You can increase this value by about 80 to 100K, and then you'll end up with extra income, because you end up with 2 or 3 different units or a few different properties. So you'll end up with about 7% in some cases, 7% return on rental yield. Now let's have a look at this Toowoomba development. Now this deal is about 2.5 years old. Okay, when we did this deal with our client, when was it? Yeah, two years ago, I think. He picked this deal up for $575,000, and the end value at the time that doing the deal was $650,000. Now we haven't catered for a market growth and the growth in the marketplace and all that. So he's walking the equity or the profit of about $85,000. Okay, and it's got 6.2% return. And it's a positive cash flow. It takes around 6 to 10 months to complete the deal. So you can literally do 1 or 2 of these deals, and you're picking up $170,000 in profit each year. Another development, Flinders View. This is in Ipswich. Apparently, the prediction is Ipswich is going to be the next business hub for Brisbane. So we strategically invested in some of these areas, and close to shopping center, close to infrastructure, close to all the local amenities. And my client did this for $560,000, and again, the end value was going to be $680,000 per unit. Oh, sorry, $680,000 for 2 units, right? So he's walking into a instant profit of about $120,000. And again, we haven't catered for market growth by the time it's finished. And the return or rental return we're looking at is 6.5%. So if you combine that with finance strategies, and if we can get around 4.5, 4.7% in interest rate that you're gonna pay, you're getting like 2% above board, and that's massive, because that's going to be positively geared property for sure, and putting money in your pocket. Okay. Now, Fern Bay, Newcastle, house and land package. Now, I love this kind of deal, right? I absolutely love it. The reason why here, $550,000 is, there's no subdivision, there's no holding costs, long holding costs. You're just going to buy land and put a house on it. Okay, you can pretty much do that within about 4 to 5 months, or maximum 6, right? So you do 2 of this, and you pick up, $100,000 each in profit in each of them, and you end up with $200,000 a year income. Imagine that, without lifting a finger, right? That's a lazy way lazy way to make your money. And I love lazy way of making money, because that's why Your Investment Property magazine titled me as lazy investor, because there's no risk. If you look at the risk of building a house, the holding cost and all that, the risk minimal, right? And then return is so huge. There's no reason why you wouldn't do this, and why you wouldn't do 2 or 3 of these a year. Okay, you got to look at that. You got to look at the risk and the reward ratio. Now, Rochdale in Brisbane. Now, this is the last of the example, and I'm going to talk about today. So because I don't want to take any longer than it has to. This is 20 minutes away from Brisbane CBD, right? What's going on here is this is one of those poshier, yappier suburbs where the medium suburb price in the area or surrounding suburbs is selling for 850 to 900,000, right? And we managed to put a package together for 636,000, literally on the same street, selling for 750. So this is the live deal, right? My client is exchanging on the contract as we speak, okay? So he's walking into this $120,000 profit, and then he knows we're going to be doing another deal just like this. And it's going to take about, again, 4 to 6 months to finish. And if he does another deal similar to this one, he's looking at a profit of $240,000 in 1 year. How incredible, okay? And he's going to be doing that over and over again. Before you know it, he'll be retiring. He'll hit that retirement within 5 to 6 to 8 years mark. And it's not that long. With the right strategy, the right deal, it's just going to come a lot quicker than you think, okay? Now, we've covered a lot of ground, and I wanted to take a step back and reflect and recap on what we've talked about and what we've discussed through this webinar. Okay, where do we start with when it comes to investing and investment planning? You have to start with your goals. And when I talk about goals, it's not just about money. Okay, you have to start with the lifestyle goals, as we discussed. What do you want out of your life? What sort of lifestyle you want? Just simply saying, well, I want $100 million a year income, or I want $1 million a year income. And you got to start asking, well, what are you going to do with $1 million, right? If you just want to stay home and spend time with the family and travel around the world for a couple of times a year, and you'll find that you don't need that much to retire on, or to hit that target. Okay, I mean, there's nothing's wrong with having $1 million a year income target, but it's just going to take a longer for you to achieve it. Just my honest opinion. Okay, and also personalizing the solution. Okay, I mean, each and every one of you in a different situation right now. I can guarantee that. Okay, my situation is not going to be the same as yours, and the guy sitting next to you, his situation is not going to be the same as you. Okay, and as my situation is not going to be the same as my mentor, what he's doing and what his things that are deals and the things that he's getting into it's not the same. Okay, even amongst my clients, I've got clients who's earning $900,000 a year income. And his strategy would be far different to someone, a mom and dad, who's earning $100,000 or $180,000 a year income. Again, his strategies in a situation would be a lot different to someone who's single and earning $100,000 a year or $70,000 a year income. So everybody is different. You can't just use off-the-shelf strategies and just start making it work for yourself. Okay, you have to personalize the solution. Every situation is different, and that's what we do at InvestWise Property. We personalize the solution so that you hit your target and you achieve that financial goal a lot quicker. Now, I want you to listen to what some of my clients have to say about me and my company, and I'll check back in very shortly. Okay.
Our first property investment journey has been a very positive one, thanks to the help of Wei. He has been there to guide us and support us with all our questions, and everything has just been so personalised, and we thank him for that. Everything has been tailored to our needs and what we wanted throughout this whole process, and what we want as our end goal. We wouldn't hesitate to recommend his services to anyone else.
My name's Michael, and I connected with Wei from InvestWise about a year ago now. Wei's helped me personally with one of my investment properties. I was having trouble with finance, not being able to get enough to set up for a deal I was after. After a few long phone conversations, Wei was able to get my finance and more through his skills and knowledge, which put me into the better deal I was after. Wei has held my hand through this process and made sure I was 100% okay, and I knew what was happening all the time with finance and my deal. So a big thanks to Wei at InvestWise. Really appreciate your help. Thanks, mate.
So now, it's time to make a decision, okay? You need to decide right now whether you're going to keep investing the way you're currently doing, or you're going to change the way you do things. Now, somehow I feel that you want to change. Okay, that's why you're here on this webinar, listening to me talking about property investing instead of watching your favorite TV shows, out on a beach doing something, right? What's the meaning of insanity? Okay, it's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different result. I didn't say it. Albert Einstein did. Okay, so let's take a moment and let's talk about X factor of InvestWise property. Okay, each and every one of you are in point A, and I call it your current state. Okay, either you already have an existing portfolio, or you just want to get started, or you want to do some development, or you don't know what your next step is. Okay, what's your right move right now? And you're all heading towards point B, which is your desired state. Right? That's your goals and dreams and your retirements and everything you want in your life. Okay, it doesn't matter what you think, what you all think, and how stuck you think you are. Believe me when I say, every one of you have a potential to move forward. Okay, might not be the same potential, but every one of you have a potential to move forward. So your next step should be, your next step is to book yourself a time for us to catch up with me, so I can advise you, at least point you in the right direction, so you know what your next step should be. Okay, and if you decide that you want to work together with me, then we can have a bit more chat about how we can work together. But honestly, though, I only work with very selected few these days, because as you can understand, I love my time with family. I love spending time with my monkeys, and I love being on a golf course. So, after all, that's what life is about, and enjoying and living. So, but when we work together, you're working with me and me only. Okay, you don't get palm off to another advisor or my right-hand man or anything like that. Okay, when you decide to work with me, you get me and my support on a speed dial. So book a time in with me to have a chat to start with. There's a button at the bottom of the page. Click on it, put your details in. Either myself or my assistant will call you and schedule a time in directly with me. And thank you very much to all of you, and thank you very much for full and undivided attention till the end. I very much am appreciated. Look forward to catching up with you very shortly.